This is Casper de Nora, and you're watching the Chat with Chaps live show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Midweek Live with the Chat with Chap show. And tonight we're going to be discussing, the main topic really is who's going to be Millwall's next manager and the pros and cons to the selective few that are kind of high up in the bookies list at the moment. A few of the guys are not available this week. I believe Disco Steve's at a disco. He's a work do, so he's probably polished his platform boots and ironed his flares and got his big shirt on. He's out there sort of partying, trying to throw some shapes on the dance floor. Angelo Miotto is, I think he's over in Turkey with his henchmen trying to get Jose Mourinho to sign a contract with Millwall. So hope that works out really good. But tonight we've got two really good panelists. First of all, introduce the man all the way from Denmark, Jesper. How you doing, Jesper? You good?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on again. Always a
good.
pleasure.
Guys, just before we came on air, I said, Jesper, how you getting on? How's your evening been? He goes, yeah, all good now. So I just got out of a nappy change. So he managed to dive on just while his little kid just delivered a korma on point. So well done, Jesper. Good time that was. And then underneath you on the screen is the one and only Ben Green. How you doing, Ben?
Yeah, all good, mate. How we doing, fellas?
Yeah, all good. It's been a few years since you had to change a korma, isn't it, Benny?
Yeah, a few years, mate. But I was saying I have the delights now of little one bringing home all the illnesses from school. So you've got that to look forward to.
No.
All the illnesses for little ones to be trying for mummy and daddy. So I have that now.
Exactly. That's the next stage. And they're still kind of cute at that age. And they get to like teenagers. That's when they start calling you CUNT. Like that's the next bit to get you. I'm at that stage at the moment. So, but anyway, let's before we get into our agenda, we'll go to the comments as usual. See who we got with us tonight. So first of all, let's see. We've got. Oh my God! Would you believe it? Number one, first on the door, is Alex S. How you doing, Alex? You all right? Jesus. Evening, gents. Hope everyone as well. Hope you're well, Alex. Andy, how are you, mate? Hope you're good. Gary, evening, mate. We've got a beer bet going on, haven't we, at the moment, Gary? I can't remember what the bet is now. You have to remind me. Rosalind's there. How you doing, Rosalind? Hope you're well. Daniel's there. Morning, Daniel. So you're somewhere on the other side of the world, I believe, at the moment. David, how you doing? Good to have you with us. Oscar, good to have you on board, mate. Good to have you with us tonight. Colin, how you doing, mate? Andrew, all good. How are you, mate? We've got Cole Bracey. Evening, fellas. How you doing? David, yes, hit the like button. Before I forget, thanks for reminding David. We've got 101 of you on here at the moment. I'm sure that number will go up. But if you haven't liked the show already, please like the show. Comment at the end. Say anything you want. Anything you write on their comments will also help and bring traffic to the show, and also helps with the algorithm. So their YouTube will then give us more money towards Cancer Research UK. And I'm sure you guys already know this already. If you don't, everything we do here, all the profits we make on this show and all the shows that we do on Chat with Chaps goes to Cancer Research UK. So you're not only just watching us and enjoying an evening with us, you're also putting money in the pockets of Cancer Research UK. So thanks a lot. So yeah, to David's point, please hit the like button. George Cole, how you doing, Georgie boy? Why are you not on the show, Georgie? I hope you're busy studying or something there, mate, or either in the Weatherspoons. I know a good enough reason for not being here tonight. Simon, how are you, mate? Good for you to join us. David, evening. How are you, mate? John, evening. How are you? Dave, yeah, good to have you on board, David. John Parr, latest rumour, Lions interested in Stephen Bradley Shamrock Rovers. Man, I saw that earlier before I came on. Rovers doing well in the Europa Cup playing Chelsea this week. I did hear that sort of rumour. I don't know how true it is. I think coming up on the Football League website, which you don't know whether to sort of take what they say too true. And I think there's a connection there with either and Marku's agent or something as well. So, take that as a pinch of salt, maybe. Gary was, the beer bet is SA not leaving in January. Not too sure now. Let me know which way around that is, Gary, because I completely forgot. In fact, I shouldn't have said that because now you're probably going to make it in your favour, aren't you? I'll trust you. Jeff, how are you, mate? Good to have you with us. Hope you're well. And the Sky Blue deck, everything on there. Says Mark Robbins no longer the running for the job. Well, we're going to discuss him shortly. Good for you to join us. Andy Herbert says, sorry, I think any new manager has a really tough task, especially as it's clear the club want a coach with Steve Gallen in charge of recruitment. Really, really good point. Dan, the legend Marsh, how you doing, Dan? Hope you're well, mate. Again, Dan, why are you not on the show tonight? Again, I hope you've got a good enough reason. George's reason is that no haircut is in almost a month. You wouldn't recognise me anyway. You're probably morphing into Dan Marsh, George, at the moment. Dave Rouse, scary times, yeah, indeed. George Cole said, cracking on with uni work and listen to you boys. Good on you, George. And finally, you've got Gary Miles. I said he won't go yet. Right, okay. And I thought he said he'll go. Technically, if he does go, but he stays on loan with us for the rest of the season, I still win a bet. Is that right, Gary? Yeah. Sticks, how are you, mate? Good to have you with us. Brilliant. Right, deep breath. Nearly there. Different Dan Marsh. Okay, mate. You should have played along, mate. You could have fooled me. Tony, hashtag bring back Angelo. Exactly.
Yeah, that trending.
Exactly. Andrew Roberts, does anyone know of the candidates that have been linked with us? Which ones are actual managers? Which ones are actually head coaches? That's true. That's going to play a big, big part, I'm pretty sure. It's in the mirror. Okay, we are on top of things. Whew. A deep breath after that.
Great.
We will get back to the chat in a moment, guys. Now, next on the agenda, first of all, is on Saturday, we played Middlesbrough at the Riverside Stadium. Of course, the game ended 1-0, which was Harris's last game in charge as head coach for Millwall. Quite an emotional game, guys. I'm sure you would agree. I'm guessing you both watched it. Was you there, Ben? I thought you were going to possibly...
No, I didn't make it, mate. Didn't make it.
Okay, mate. So before we just sort of talk about this very, very briefly and get your thoughts on the game and how it all panned out in your eyes, just want to share some stats very, very quickly. So, Ben, I know you're quite big on XGs, aren't you, as well? So, XG, Middlesbrough 1.05, Millwall's XG 1.29. So we edged it a little bit on the XGs. Shots, we had 12 shots to their 11. We had 4 on target to their 2. We had 4 corners to their 3. So they didn't exactly play us off the park. Okay, we give away possession as we always do, but I thought the players gave a good account of themselves, Ben. And I feel that, they did everything they can, but score really, it seems, from how I looked at it. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think one thing we talk about, which seems with alarming regularity, mate, with this bunch is it's never through the lack of effort, is it, or lack of try. And that's one thing you cannot say about this group of players, but it seems the same old things in games where we just need that extra little bit of quality in the final thirds. You need that one chance for us to stick it in the back of the net, especially away from home. You're not getting to get too many, especially against good sides like Middlesbrough. We had that chance early on with Langstaff, didn't we? And I just thought from there, the writing was on the wall. It's a similar performance that you've seen for far too long with us now. I say we're in games, we're doing all right, doing well in most cases. We have an opportunity, don't take it. They've been sure with their first attack and shot on target, basically. So, yeah, look, frustrating, but nothing really new with this group. We know where the weaknesses are, don't we? And that's in the final third.
Just where Ben talks about the weaknesses and the areas that we kind of need to improve or we struggle. And I think, Harris, if you listen to recent post-match interviews, he talks quite heavily about lacking a little bit of quality in the final third. Do you agree with Ben with regards to our performance and how the game sort of panned out for us?
Yeah, I echo everything. We've got some big chances in this game. We should have taken. Not only did Langstaff had a big chance, Assis also had one, and I think actually Langstaff has one in the beginning as well. So we're not clinical enough up front. But I would also say if you divide sort of the first bit of the season in two, I thought we looked a lot more threatening going forward. Probably the first 7 or 8 games, and I think we've looked a lot more rigid defensively in the last 7 or 8 as well, and we really seem to struggle to find that. How would you say that attacking threat going forward, and 3 games on the spin now without a goal. It's worrying, I think, and we don't look like a team creating a lot. And I just had a look at the table. We are almost the lowest scoring team now in the league, whereas in the beginning of the season, our XGs was up there, the goals was up there, and yeah, it's just worrying. We're sort of relying on set pieces, and if I'm not mistaken, we've only scored 1 goal from open play in the last 7 or 8 games. It's really worrying. And thank God we have a small buffer point wise, but we really need to pick it up soon.
Yeah, it's a shame when you think not too long ago we're beating Leeds, beating Burnley, we're hovering in the top 6, and like you say, you probably had like high XG as well. We did have a Josh Coburn playing for us during that sort of period, I guess, and he made a difference for us. And how reliant are we on Josh Coburn at the moment? You know, playing and return to form, because it seems there's a pattern there. Whenever Josh Coburn's not playing, we struggle for goals. And again, our last couple of games showed that we did lack that quality and that kind of presence up front, didn't we, Jesper?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you could say that. Then you could also argue the fact that how much of an impact has he had. I think everyone in the group also speaks very highly of him, and I would like him down the den permanently if he's not that injury prone. But we have to remember also he scored 2 goals. The next one scored 1 goal, so it's not like he's been banging them in right, left, centre. But he does give us something up front, and he's a very good target man. He's also very mobile, and he does bring something that we could definitely use. But I think in the beginning of the season, I think he only came in. His first game was against Sheffield Wednesday, if I remember correctly. So the first couple of games he wasn't playing, and we were still scoring goals. We were still creating chances. So yes, he's part of the puzzle, and is definitely the first pick of the 4 strikers we have. But I just think the whole team as a unit is not performing as well as we did in the beginning.
Excellent. And Ben, would you agree with regards to the lack of quality at the moment in that final third? Is Josh Coburn heavily reliant on at the moment in your opinion? And once you covered that, I want to get your thoughts on Murray Wallace. The 2 games he's come in. I don't know about you, but I felt he's been quite great. Actually, he's come in and done a really good job. But first, what's your thoughts on the attacking problems in Coburn and without playing Coburn?
Yeah, and the attacking problems. It's interesting now seeing it play out, having sort of heard Neil's comments or little jibes at the squad throughout throughout the part of the season so far. Right, he's continually made comments about that. The one thing that I think we all thought we were getting with Langstaff was going to be that sort of 1 chance, 1 goal striker, being quite clinical. But if people actually looked, I think something that I spoke about in the summer after we signed him was that Notts County have been very free-flowing, get my words out, and had a lot of chances. He wasn't that sort of striker. He was feeding off a lot of opportunities for Notts County, so it wasn't like he was that real clinical player. For us, we don't create a lot, and I think when he's had those big moments, I think back to the Luton game, he had that one-on-one. It was a great save by the keeper. He's had other opportunities, obviously, since then. We do just lack that clinical edge. As I said, like Latty Laff, he's had 1 opportunity there. It was a great bit of football from Borough as well, the 1-2, and they score. That is just the difference of quality, unfortunately, in the league. You look at Coburn, if we're relying on him to be our main striker, he's only played 1 season himself in the Championship. I think he had 21 appearances last year for Borough. So, yeah, look, I think the signs are there, right? I think we need reinforcements up top. We're relying on players that are either unproven at this level or are young and have got a lot to learn, not only about football, but certainly Championship football. So, yeah, I think if I'm going and looking at January, that's the first place I'm looking. And in the second part of your question, mate, Murray Wallace, yeah, look, he's done brilliantly, to be fair. I think 95% of the fan base have written him off last year, right? I was probably one of them.
Me too, yeah.
And, yeah, he's done really well. I'm pleased for him as well. So a lot of people have written him off. There's been a lot of people that have forgotten about what he did before that. Obviously, player of the season, he was brilliant for a couple of years for us. So, yeah, really pleased for him.
Good, excellent. We're going to go to the comments, guys, very, very quickly. Gary, tight kit, yeah. Again, depending how it goes, I'll make it work for me somehow. Don't worry, Gary. David Turner says that route to Oxford apparently. Yeah, again, we're hearing that rumour as well. So could he be out of the mix potentially? GC says, evening lads. How you doing, GC? Jonathan, I think our strikers are picked on their defensive work over their finishing. It's a really good point that is from Jonathan there. I don't know how you guys feel about that very quickly. We want to sort of jump in on that one because, under Harris, even right before him, I guess, they always looked at players who play up front but do the hard work, the pressing and, fitting in and sitting into low blocks and stuff. Would you agree with that point?
Yeah, I would. I remember Langstaff in the beginning, he wasn't playing because Neil, obviously, he came out and said he's not that sort of Millwall striker yet. And I would assume they were working on his defensive duties more than anything to be the sort of striker that Bradshaw is when he's playing. And that's the thing you can argue as well. It's all well and good being this grafter and Millwall type of player, as we keep saying. But first and foremost, the striker needs to score goals, in my opinion.
100%.
I just to make a small anecdote. I played with a guy who was top scorer in the best Danish league. He was in my class when I was younger, and he didn't play for the first team. He ended up going to another club, but they couldn't use him because he was, as the coach said, he was too lazy. As a striker. So it's just funny how one coach or one manager will see the player and how they will fit into certain clubs and systems, whereas in other clubs they won't. And I think in this case it's sort of similar what Harris wanted from his strikers compared to what maybe a new coach or manager wants when he comes in.
No, very, very good point. Matt Letizia managed to slip through the net, did he? In that case. But anything you want to add on that point, Ben, in regards to our strikers getting picked more on defensive work rather than their finishing? Would you agree to that point?
Yeah, I would, but I'd also think of it as an attacking outlet just from their link-up play. And I'm going to use Ivanovic here, for example. I think his positional sense of what I've seen limited, but all of us have seen limited game time of him, is quite poor. It doesn't seem to stick with him. It seems to come straight back. I know you would argue it can sometimes with Bradders, but I actually think when Bradders gets the ball to his feet, he is quite a good link-up striker. So you could argue that can be used as well.
Even Harris picked up on that, didn't he, Ben? Even Harris made a point of Ivanovic's poor positioning, not being in the box when he should have been in the box. And again, a lot of our Millwall fans, me included, have mentioned why doesn't Ivanovic start? And I think he gets a bit of game time. And straight away, I think a lot of us are all saying the same players that saying he should start, same fans are saying he should start, are also saying that he's not quite ready either.
Yeah, so but my point with that from a defensive point of view, Joe, is you need an outlet at all times, even when you've got backs to the ball. If we're going direct, you need it to stick up there and you need to be able to get up the pitch defensively. Yeah. If you're getting the ball forward quickly and it's coming straight back, you're putting yourselves under pressure. And I just think, again, I'm going to use Ivanovic here. When he come on at Stoke, there was times where Coburn got us up the pitch and his link-up play was well. And it is obviously an attacking outlet, but it's also from a defensive point of view, just as I say, just to get your positional sense and get you up the pitch.
Up the pitch. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly that. And I just haven't seen that from him yet. It hasn't stuck. So
hopefully he'll learn that. Hopefully that's a part of his game that he's going to develop and learn.
He's going to have to if he wants to be a main striker in the Championship. He's going to have to.
And it's a shame that Coburn's not playing more games consecutively, because even if Ivanovic was sitting on the bench watching Coburn, he could almost study him, see what he does really well, and try and add that part to his game. He's got all the physical attributes for it, but he's not quite using it, is it, to his advantage, I guess. And let's go.
Just on Coburn, mate, which is what we was talking about. I don't know if it's a point for later, but there's been some rumours today that Latif could be off. So that's going to be interesting.
And then to add to that rumor, Ben, I think that's where you're going to go down the same route. Is that they might want to recall him back, won't they?
Exactly that. I don't think he's number one choice with Carrick, clearly, because he's on loan with us, right? But if they lose him, we're only And the only reason why they would want Coburn back rather than replace Latif is because I think financially, I understand Borough have got a few problems. They're quite a huge debt, aren't they? A big bill. Are they? Okay.
They need to pay. So they're bankrolling at the moment quite heavily. So I don't really think they've got the money there to go out and buy players. So it's just it's something to keep an eye on. If they lose Latif, then Coburn might be going back anyway. Yeah, well, let's hope that they keep him then. Let's go back to the comments again. So Charles Luke says, we obviously can't put our charts away. Will a new manager be able to change that, or is it down to quality? again, I think if you hear what guys are saying just now, I think a lot of it's down to quality. And I think Harris was kind of like talking quite heavy about that point, weren't he, throughout the latter part of his
it must be frustrating for someone like Harris, Joe, because if you put Neil Harris in those positions, if he had Langstaff's opportunity, I can almost guarantee he scores.
He would do. He would bury those, especially 1v1s. You know, he was quality. And things with Harris, he scored all sorts of goals. Didn't he? He scored tap-ins. He scored like curlers from the edge of the box, headers, left foot, right foot. You know, what a complete striker he was. Here's one for you, Ben. We spoke about this one earlier, and Jesper. What do you guys think about bringing Nisbet back now that Harris has gone? Clean slate for him, surely. MFC 96, we did have that point later in our list of the agenda, but now you mentioned we're going to go to it straight away. Boys, what's your thoughts on that? And is there a clean slate for Nisbet and probably even a Marku who kind of fell out of favour of Harris a little bit during his reign? Would you agree?
Yeah, sorry, just got a baby in the background, but
you trying to find that, weren't you? That mute button.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I think everyone has a clean slate, especially with a new manager coming in now. With Livers in charge, he probably will, pick some of the same players that Harris did. But I think a new manager will come in, have a look at everyone, and see which players can I use going forward. So in this, but he will be in that contention as well. A group of players that will be looked at for sure. So it will be interesting to see if someone can get more out of him than Rowett and Harris could. Well, Harris didn't coach him because, what's in this bit here? No, he injured
he was,
at the back end of
last year, wasn't he? And then
he didn't play anyway. So
he went in the summer, didn't he?
And some disciplinary issues towards the end of the season as well. So it will be interesting. Who knows?
Yeah, no, good.
Yeah, I'm going to go on the other side of that fence, Joe, and say no, not for me with this bit. I'm happy to wipe my hands with him. People can say there's a player in there. Yeah, clearly there is, but
we paid £2 million for him, didn't we? I think something along those lines.
We're not going to recruit, are we? We're not going to.
Well, not at the moment, surely not. No, but again, is there a player inside there, Ben? Is there someone with the right manager will get the best out of Nisbet? Clearly, Harris couldn't get that out of him, but between the right manager in charge, would they be able to get Nisbet, on point, get him firing, get in play? Because there's clearly a player in there. I mean, his record at Hibs was pretty fantastic, wasn't it? He scored one in 3 games, I think it was on average. So.
Yeah, and you saw it at times under Edwards, right? He did well and scored some decent goals for us. So but just not for me. I just anyone when you start getting we very rarely have disciplinary issues at Millwall, do we? And I just think he to me. Listen, we don't know him. This is just my opinion. If he's somewhat of a bad egg, we're in a very, very precarious situation at the minute. I'd rather him out the squad, not being there. If he wants to come back next summer, maybe a bit more stability. Then we know where we are. Manager's obviously going to have been there for a few months at that point. Yeah, maybe then, but not for me for one in January.
Which is a shame because I've heard through certain sort of players, current players at the moment. If you ask them who is our best striker or our best finisher in the club, a lot of them will say Nisbet, which is a shame. Because he's obviously technically a very, very good player, good striker, and they all lean to him as like probably our best finisher. But if you ain't got it there, it's irrelevant whether you've got the technical ability or not. And let's go back to the chat, guys, because the comments are really building up fast. So I don't want to miss anyone out. So I'll make sure we cover everybody if we can. So next there is Andrew Roberts says, we've played every team in the league so far except Blackburn, Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich and Portsmouth. And not one of them have outplayed us. It's very true. And I think, the point made that although we're not scoring very, very many goals at the moment, we're not getting beat more than one goal when we do lose either, So we're not getting...
We have played Sheffield Wednesday. We won 3-1.
Oh, yes. Yeah, good point. But the good thing is we're not getting smashed, are we, by these teams? And, I think defensively, I think we're fine. It's just the other end. We need to get that sorted in January, don't we? And try and bring in 1 or 2 players that can make a difference for us. Andy Herbert says, Harrison, well, considering he had half fit Obafemi for most of last season. And the strikers this season, Langstaff, the Serb, aren't good enough. Reason he left, suppose Steve Gallen's choices. So again, it's a tough one, isn't it? You can kind of reading Andy's point there, guys. You can see that if you're Harris and you're in charge and you didn't agree with those signings, as we're alleged to believe, it must be very, very frustrating for him to try and get a tune out and knowing that he's playing with using players that he doesn't particularly believe in or feel that he's good enough. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's here for another would have been here for another 6 months, right? His mantra is win now. He's not interested in a 19-year-old Serbian who might be good for us in 18 months. Yeah, it's no good to Neil Harris, and that's just where. Listen, if it doesn't align, it doesn't align. Neil's clearly done what's right for him. The club are doing what right for us. So it just didn't work out. But yeah, now you can see clearly, as I said earlier, all of the little jibs and jibes he was having in his interviews, and now we're probably seeing them play out in front of our eyes. So yeah, completely agree there.
And also Ben and Jesper, he's seen these guys daily during the week in training. He's seen what they can do, what they can't do. We're privileged to see him on match days, but he gets to see them more often, Jesper. And I think, again, it must be just so frustrating for him knowing their capability of seeing what they can, what they can't do, and then, getting the blame, particularly that game against Oxford, where we can't see the score at the moment,
Yeah. I understand that. I think it was just a substitution, maybe, that the fans were a bit frustrated about. Bradders coming back, and again, we're not picking him out, but he's a half-fit player you put on. Yeah. I think the fans would maybe have accepted it, putting, another striker on, and maybe still getting the same result, but at least trying something else. I think that was the thing that happened that day at Oxford. But yeah, I get it from and also, as Ben says, like, Harris was interested in getting results and getting the best results from Millwall, and he was not looking 2 years ahead. No. And looking back, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but in the summer, I still don't understand why the board didn't say, right, let's get him signed up on a 3-year deal, Harris, so he can start building a new team for the future.
Building his team,
Exactly, or at least get a new manager in who can then build a team. I don't understand why we needed a transition year.
That's an excellent point, Jesper, because you think at the end of the season how things were. There's a real buzz in the place, weren't there? I mean, everyone was happy. The players were happy. Harris happy. We're happy with the finish that we had. You really think at that point, to your point, they could have said, right, here's an extended 2 years in your contract. We want you to build a team. We want you to bring your players in. You have a big say in recruitment. And I think in some way that's probably what Harris wanted. But he didn't, and he's always told that, listen, your time's going to be up next season, therefore we're not going to get you involved in recruitment because you're not going to be here in another 12 months' time. So frustrating, isn't it? Yeah. But let's go through the comments, guys. Where are we? Alex S says all our games are 1-0 or 1-1. Only 4 games have had more than 2 goals in them all season, and still yet to concede more than 1 goal in a game when Tango plays. Yeah. Absolutely spot on. Andrew's right, Jesper, to your point. So we have played Sheffield Wednesday, but not the other 3. Yeah, good point. Carl Bray said, I think Mark Robbins should get the job. He done wonders at Coventry. They had no ground flicking between grounds until they had a ground to call home, and nearly got them in the Premier League. Very, very true. We will touch on the potential managers in a moment. We've got that coming up. Andy Herbert says a successful manager will have to buy into Steve Gallen's vision and tippy-tappy style of play. Otherwise, it's just going to be Harris all over again. Kobo's made of glass, says Cole. John C says, should we have invested in experienced striker, both getting minutes elsewhere? So should we have invested in experienced striker, both getting minutes elsewhere? I think, is that referring to Nisbet, John? I think that's what you mean. Alex says, Cone at Wickham scored 9 in 19, only 21 years of age, worth a punt. Mate, it's definitely worth them. They're definitely doing really well, Wickham, because of them, aren't they, at the moment, these goals. So definitely worth a look. And it's only a division below, not like with Langstaff, we've gone 2 leagues below, haven't we, Andrew Roberts says, we need a manager who can teach our strikers when to shoot on goal and when to pass to a teammate who is in a better position. Have to have someone on the bloody back post when a cross comes in. It's true. How often does that happen? Dave Turris says definitely defensive. S has come a long way in his defensive work. Agree. Defensive strikers, I'm getting Bodvarsson flashbacks. Yeah, and the mighty Vadslammer as well. GC says we need creativity in the middle of the park. We have it in the wings now, but Saville and Casper aren't exactly creative. I'd argue that they're probably not as bad as what you say there, GC. I know Casper does like playing forward passes. I think if anything, he's someone who can open up defensive. But the trouble is, we need attackers and forwards that are going to create space and make movements in order for us to capitalise on that. Oscan says, I'm still puzzled why Harris took 2 games after resignation only from Livermore to interim. A really good point there. Who knows? Who knows what that is? Maybe he just wanted those 2 games to sort of like say goodbye to the home fans, and I don't know, just maybe the away fans. I don't know. It's a bit of a strange one there. Gary Miles says Langstaff seems to move and get in space well. To be fair, yeah, we're slating about his finishing, and you know he really needs to work on that side. But his movement, his effort, and his overall agility is spot on. You know, I do like the way he gets around the pitch. He does try hard, doesn't he?
I've actually been impressed with that side of his game.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to. Well, a lot of people thought he was going to be that sort of one chance, one goal striker. But I've been really impressed with his work rate. Never a lack of effort from him. His movement is really good. As I say, like the Luton chance he had was a great run, and he spun in behind. So his movement is good, but no good having good movement if you can't stick the ball in the back of the net.
Well, that's it, exactly. John Parr says, will Livermore be less defensive? It's a hard one. I mean, Livermore as a player, John, I don't know if you're old enough or not. I'm sure you remember him in his playing days. He was never really looked upon as an attacking midfielder, wasn't he? He was sort of the player that would allow Cahill to kind of move forward, wasn't he, John? But then sometimes you do get defensive players being very attacking as a manager and vice versa. I mean, look at Harris, he's quite defensive minded. I'm just trying to think of any others I can think of at the moment, but you get my drift, don't you? Sometimes what you see as a player isn't necessarily what they are as a manager or as a coach, perhaps. David Turner says, I think Livermore will put himself in the shop window for the job at the Den. I think he's definitely in the running at the moment. I think he's, where is he? I think he's about sort of 7-1 on most betting websites at the moment. So he's definitely interested in the job. But this gives an opportunity, a few games, to see what we can do, isn't it? So let's see what we can do. Andrew Roberts says, I'm puzzled why Harris left before we had a new manager ready to take over from him after Borough. Harris must have told the ball his decision a while back, but now he's gone and we've got Livermore. I think there could be some sort of truth in there, Andrew, possibly. He certainly aired his frustrations, didn't he, at times. John C says, seen complaints from Aberdeen fans, lazy and fitness. This is regards to Nisbet. It doesn't surprise me whatsoever, John. I think, again, that was one of his biggest downfalls here, wasn't it, sadly, which is a bit of a shame. Roslyn says, not sure Nisbet would want to come back, would he? I don't know, Roslyn. I mean, I think from what I'm hearing, I think he quite enjoyed living in London, enjoyed the London life, living on the capital and everything else. He probably loved it too much, hence the reason why he's gone back up to Scotland again. With Harris not in charge, Roslyn, would he see his opportunity to come back again? But I think his loan contract runs out in the summer, so we can't get him back in January. I don't believe there's a recall on there either. So, but it'd be interesting how that works anyway. Andrew says it's also a clean slate for Langstaff, Ivanovic and Kelly. Yeah, good point. Tony says for all of
Joe, sorry, just on that, on the last comment.
That one, yeah.
Do it. But are we saying, sorry, Andrew, do we think that Neil Harris was holding those players back though, or they're just not good enough right now?
I wouldn't say, I don't know whether Jesper agrees with me. I wouldn't say he was holding them back, because I think he gave them opportunities. But if you're one of those 3 players, you want your manager to give you all the motivation, all the encouragement you need to go out there and do well. And you very rarely kind of see him or hear him sort of big these players up, do you, too much? He'll quite openly talk about, Bradshaw and the likes of Saville and what they bring to the team and how good they are, but you never hear him sort of talking about those sort of players. And I think, is there a little bit of resentment there, Jesper? I don't know. Like, is it, he's not his players, he didn't want them, so therefore I'm not going to back them, I'm not going to praise them too much? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's someone would have said that's a good question, but I think for Langstaff and Ivanovic, I think there's more to come, but I think they are better suited for a team who's more on the ball. We have not seen much of the ball. I think we all must be the lowest in the league in terms of average possession this season. And I think if we can, Chris was doing an interview with Sam Parkin, and I think he nailed the spot on saying that if we could just add that bit to our game, being a bit more on the ball, being a bit more in control. And I don't necessarily mean in a tiki-taka sort of way. I think we can get more out of our players sometimes, because I do feel that we are giving the ball away too easily at times. We don't have these attacking plays, a pattern that could open up defenses. We're really struggling in that department. I think we have a really good foundation in terms of our shape and how we line up as a team and as a defensive unit. And I don't think we need to add that much, and I think the quality is in the team, but sometimes you need to take risks as well to score goals. And I would say for every player from midfield going forward, it's been a bit disappointing outcome, maybe except for Watmore, who had a really good start to the season. But
even he's faded out now, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Excellent, good points. Tony Turret says, for all Harris comments on quality, he took Langstaff out after playing well against Leeds. Yep. And then involvement in the Sunderland goal, he opted for Bradshaw of him against Oxford. Confident shot. Completely agree, Tony. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a game when Ivanovic comes on, doesn't he? He scores against Derby, and then he doesn't start on next game. And then against Sunderland, Imarku does fantastic to get the assists for Aziz, doesn't he, for that game? And again, he doesn't start. He's on the bench next game as well. So, to your point, you're absolutely right. It can't do too great for their confidence, unfortunately. Dave Squire says Nisbet has not played a full 90 minutes yet. There you go. Tony says it was a poor management decision. Harris did refuse to acknowledge when he did get it wrong. And much as I love him, I agree, Tony, mate. I agree. Andy says Harris frustrated as he didn't have the signs he wanted. Players suspended, injured, and we've sold Fleming, selling SA, and players he probably didn't want aren't good enough, and fans are on his back. Yeah, very frustrating. Paul, how you doing, mate? Paul, where are you? Should be here, mate. Nisbet being average poor at Aberdeen and not convinced, their fans are saying, being subbed off at half-time quite a few times. It's such a shame, isn't it? I mean, to have that kind of... I mean, if I had that ability that he's got, Jesus Christ, you would do everything you can off the field, whatever, on the field to make sure you're picked. You've got a short career as a footballer. I just don't understand it. I really don't, you know. John C said, Jed not playing at West Brom, have him back and play in the 10. Not a bad shout, you know. I don't know whether he can do the wingers job anymore, but certainly in a 10, I'd rather have him there than some players in our squad at the moment. Connor says, we need to bring Nisbet back. He just needs to sort his attitude out. Carl says, Nisbet doesn't want to play for Millwall. We only want players committed to playing for our club. Does he not want to play for Millwall, though, Carl? I mean, we're speculating there, aren't we? But again, if we're led to believe the rumours are true that he's got, off the field, disciplinary issues, allegedly is what we're hearing. Can the right manager get the best out of him, Carl? That's what we're saying, you know. We beat Pompey away 1-0. I think that was in the cup, wasn't it, GC? Mark says, no, we don't have disciplinary problems at a club, but under Harris, we do. Kev Cardin and in the past OBS as well as others. Dave Turner says, on a random note, what is the picture behind Jesper? Jesper, what's that picture behind you?
What is it? That's where it's Hamburg. It's where I used to live for 5 years.
Ah, right. There you go.
And you have the stadium as well.
Excellent. Nice one.
Yeah.
There you go, David. Connor said, Serb just not ready. Andy Hubbard says, we sell Tango in January. I really hope not. I really do hope not. Andy Hubbard says that January need a good central defender and a striker. John Parr says, don't think Millwall will ever to progress to where JB Jr. wants us to go under Harris. He's 100% Millwall, but that doesn't make him a great manager. Mark Robbins is in the AN. Max says, Harris cited staying for the 2 games due to him not wanting to leave us with 2 difficult games. Okay, if that's true, the fair play to him, you know. Ash, how you doing, mate? Says Mark Robbins isn't the man. He isn't a head coach, and the commentary fell apart when his number 2 left. That's a very good point. What's his name? Is it Vishash or Vishash? He's number 2. Vishash, yeah. And he made a big part. It's interesting because he then left, and of course Robin struggled, didn't he, without him? Do you remember Livermore's song when he played? We all used to dumb Livermore. It was called, I don't remember that. I have to look into that one. Oscar says, anyone from O'Neill, Bloomfield, Robbins, Wacker for me, not Sean Schumacher. Ash, agree Ash on the board, don't want a manager. It takes time to integrate a young player. I wish SA played more last season, but drop feeding him in work for this year. The board want a yes man. Langsdorff needs to be played in the 2. That's where he had success not counting, not as a lone striker. I agree. I've heard rumours that Gary O'Neill has got up because of wages. Also, I think a lot of these managers, I remember Dyche in a very similar situation about a year or so ago, wasn't it, before he got the Everton job? And I think he admitted himself he wants to hold out for a Premier League club. And if that doesn't happen, he'll look at Championship. And then he got his luck with Everton, didn't he? David Turner said, did anyone see Craig Heaney from the Academy tweet? He said Harris was the only manager we had since. Yeah, I saw that. That's a really nice tweet there. Did you see that, guys, as well?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
He knew him by his name, didn't he?
He knew him by his name. He's the only manager who's ever called him by his first name. Yeah. Ben Lagstaff, Ivanovic and Kelly should have been given a number of consecutive games to play with others to do every game. So there's a disconnect between midfield and the strikers.
It was just clarification more, Andrew, just see if we felt it was a Harris holding them back thing. I still think it's a quality thing at the moment with those guys, but I do get the point. They're never going to be able to show their quality without playing, so it is a bit of a catch-22.
Excellent. Board want yes man who plays their football with their recruitment players. Carlson winning a couple of defenders and a couple of forwards. I'm surprised Millwall isn't linked, to be fair. Evening, boys. I'll go for Alex Neil. Won promotion with Hamilton, Norwich and Sunderland and did a very admirable job at Preston. Stoke is the only blemish on his managerial career. You put it that way, it's not a bad shout. I just don't like his style of football. It's very kind of defensive, isn't it, really? Too defensive. Andy Herbert said, I don't see Mark Robbins fitting here. People have said Mark is a manager and leaves coaching to the underlines. That won't fit our vision. Wickham bloke sounds best. And then Andrew Roberts says, Nisbet might not have wanted to play for Harris. Perhaps there was a clash between both of them. How about Nisbet should how Nisbet should play? Excellent. Right, we're on top of the comments. Fantastic. Guys, we've got a lot to go through, and we're at the 42-minute mark at the moment. So, guys, if you're in the live at the moment and you haven't liked the show, please like the show. Again, I'm sure most of you know, every week we make out this channel goes to Cancer Research UK. Any profit goes to Cancer Research UK. So all your likes, all your comments, all your shares, all helps with the algorithms, and it just brings more sort of people to our channel, and then we can then generate more money for Cancer Research UK. So thank you very much for doing that. If you've done that already, I really appreciate that. Boys, on back to you again. So we talked about Neil Harris, obviously, the leaving, how that impacts the team and everything going forward. What do you make of Dave Livermore, Ben? Obviously, he comes in as interim manager. We don't know how long for. We're led to believe until they appoint a new permanent manager. But how do you see his sort of replacement? What's going to change, in your opinion, with Dave Livermore in charge for the next few games?
Well, we don't know, right? We haven't seen him in a managerial position. He's been Neil's right-hand man, I'm pretty sure, in saying everywhere he's been. It's interesting that he's decided to stick around. I know, obviously, he's got a strong affinity to the club, obviously. But I'm surprised he stayed with us, I'll be honest. I thought he would have gone with Neil. He might be viewing it as his opportunity to throw his hat in the ring, like you said earlier, Joe. So, yeah, look, in terms of play style, all that sort of thing, we've got no idea, right? I mean, unless anyone can tell me otherwise. But, yeah, no idea. I can only assume in his head it is his opportunity to potentially, throw his hat in the ring for the role full time. How do I feel about it? Don't know. So I'm surprised he's still there, being perfectly honest. I don't think I can say not much more than that. See how we go, mate. See how we go.
Excellent. And Jesper, how do you see Livermore approaching this role? Do you think it's going to be similar to what Harris was doing, or do you see him probably trying to do something different and maybe play towards the board's way of working it?
I think he'll continue sort of the same that Neil did, try and continue with this group of players in the way that we set up in order not to change too much too soon. He might have his small ideas that he wants to implement, but I don't think we're going to see wholesale changes for the upcoming game against Blackburn or the games after, if he's in charge of those as well. So I think it'll be similar to what we've seen, maybe with one or two changes in the team and some tweaks here and there.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Andy, cheers for that, mate. Thank you very much. Jonathan, sorry, mate. I didn't know. I just had a quick look. I can't see your comments. You might have sent it, but it probably didn't come out on my end. So if you want to send it again, mate, please get it on there and I'll definitely read it out. Tyler Foss says, been playing one up front all season, having no attacking midfielders unless the players are real quality, which they're not, which again is a very, very good point. And Robert says Stoke is the blemish on every manager's CV. Good point. Jonathan said Livermore has his bills to pay, which is a very, very good point, Jonathan, because I think we look at managers and coaching staff. Livermore hasn't really had the most success as a manager. I think he had a very brief spell, didn't he, coaching a non-league side, I think it was, before he got the gig to come in as assistant manager at Millwall with Harris at the time, if I remember. And he probably needs that permanent job. He needs to get into a bit of a long system and make a name for himself in this industry. And what I'm hearing as well from a lot of the players is that he is the main man when it comes to training. Like his drills that he puts in, the way the players respond to him in training is very, very good. So although he's quite a quiet character, you very rarely see him in front of the camera doing many interviews and stuff like that. But apparently he's very, very good on the training field. So there's probably it suits both him and the club, whereas they want somebody who's connected to the players that can keep this glue everything together until they find a new manager. It keeps him in a job a little bit longer, keeps him active. It looks good on his CV to be an interim manager as well, I suppose. So maybe it's a win-win for everyone there, Jonathan. The Joshua says, if Livers manages like he played, we are in for a few Rowett-style games. Good point, and a few sending offs as well, Joshua. GC says that Livermore was vice captain to Nethercott, if I remember right. He'll get the lads up for it. Yeah, very, very true. I always remember GC years and years ago when Livers was a player. I remember talking to him after a game once, and we were having a drink in the players' lounge, and I sort of just commented on his game, how well he played. And I remember that game he put in some really big tackles, and he didn't really talk a lot. But I remember him saying to me, it's like 25 years ago. He said, Dave said, that's the only way I know how to play. He said, that's my game, And I think he's a big believer about, giving 100%, being aggressive, putting tackles in. So I think we might see that side to our players in the next sort of 2 or 3 games while he's still interim manager. I think he'll demand that from our boys to be quite aggressive and win their tackles. So it'd be interesting how that works, starting from Saturday, of course. Andy Herbert says, question for the panel. Do you think this season is going to be A, fighting for playoffs, B, fighting for our lives regarding relegation? How do you think the team will do? Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to go first, mate. Go on, yes or no, you go on.
Okay. Well, there's how do I think it will go and then how do I hope it will go? I hope that we've learned from last season, and I hope that we can sort of do a smaller transition, or how do you say it? Not as big as the transition as we tried to do last November, where they all went tits up in the end. So I think that we will finish sort of mid-table. It could also be a bit low. I don't think we will be in a dogfight again, and I don't hope we will. But again, depends on what the manager wants, who comes in. But it has to be someone who understands what this group is capable of doing and who can see a vision with this team, but can build it slowly without doing too much too soon.
Good point. And Ben, before we come to you, mate, to get your thoughts on that, I think, again, another big reason why Harris left now rather than later, because he felt it was right that the new manager comes in, who then has a big say in January in the recruitment, who they want to bring in, what players they want to bring in. So again, that kind of worked for us really, really well if the manager gets point Ben and then picks his players and signs a couple of players that he feels will fit in the system, or it can go the Joe Edwards way, where we're hoping for good things, and unfortunately he doesn't quite have the caliber of the players that's going to fit into his system, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he said that in his post-match, didn't he, after the Middlesbrough game? I think he said that or about the window. The only issue or concern I'd have there, Joe, is that the January transfer window is horrendous. It's not a good window to add quality to the squad. I'd imagine at most we're probably only going to be looking at loan signings unless we get rid of a couple. And can we even afford to get rid of a couple? Do we have the squad size to? So, yeah, you're not going to be going and picking up another club's top player. They're going to be demanding too much money for him in January. So, yeah, I'd imagine we'll be looking at some loan signings. So, yes, it's just a tough window. But, yeah, totally agree. At least he has given him an opportunity to say we need to add a player in X or Y positions.
Exactly. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Jonathan says, I was only gonna second the Alex Neil suggestions. Histon. Andy says that Livermore going to have a few games here, a lot of games in short periods. Go for it, mate. Change it up and stick the Marku on. Only threat we have. Go for it, my son. I like that. And I agree on Marku. I want to see him more often. I really do. I think it makes a big difference to our side. Livermore is nothing like Rowett. Is the worst manager ever, Cole says. And Daniel Wynn says, worst manager ever, talking bollocks. I don't know whether he's actually winding up there or not there, Cole. David says, quick plug, anyone near the Den tomorrow, then pop into the coffee morning between 10 and 12 in Ari's Bar. It's free. There you go. Cheers for that. Guys, there you go. If you live local, if you live far, and you fancy meeting up with like-minded people and talking all things Millwall, and want to go to the Den for a free coffee morning, there you go. Ari Bar, it's open, it's free, it's open from 10 till 12. There you go, David. Thanks for sharing, mate. Jonathan Badridge says Livermore was at Histon. That was it. Sorry, mate. You're right, Jonathan. That's a club where he was managing very, very briefly. And from memory, I think he then left there because obviously he came to join Millwall, didn't he, at the time? Good stuff. Right. Guys, very, very quickly, we want to go through our next manager. That's why we're all here tonight. You know, that's the title of the show. Millwall's next manager. We ain't got a crystal ball. We've only gone by betting stats at the moment and what, the betting odds are saying, what they're giving us. But there's a few names there, Jesper and Ben, on the list at the moment. So 9-4 favourite with most websites at the moment is Stephen Schumacher. Obviously, we know he was previously managing Stoke. And Schumacher's obviously current favourite to take over, Jesper. I'm led to believe he might have had the chat already or the interview. I think it might have been yesterday.
Okay.
The rumours I heard. I don't know if it's true or not. But what do you make of him? What's your thoughts on Schumacher?
I don't know him too well. All I know is his record at Plymouth speaks for itself. They won, I believe, League One when they got promoted ahead of Ipswich. Sorry.
Played some good football as well, weren't they?
Played some good football, played some attacking stuff. And I think he did reasonably well as in the games he had with Plymouth in the Championship before he was picked up by Stoke. So, yeah, he could be an interesting signing, a young, fresh coach, manager, or whatever, could fit the bill in terms of also cooperating with the board. I think that would have to be first and foremost that we get someone aligned with the board. People call him a yes man, the person who is coming in, but certainly these two will have to work together. And whether he's a manager or head coach, I don't know. It's a title nowadays that we use, isn't it? But I think for me personally, he could be an interesting choice. I'm led to believe he's still owed an explanation as to why he was fired at Stoke. I read somewhere.
Really? Right.
Okay. Yeah, apparently he was fired on the coach on the way back from Oxford. When he apparently didn't pick 4 players that had been on international duty, fell out of favour with Jonathan.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, and the players that he brought, they didn't perform. I think they lost their game, didn't they? And then he got the backlash of that, didn't they?
They did, yeah. And Walters then said to him, we're going to have a conversation later as to why this happened.
John Waters.
I think that conversation has happened.
And again, is John Waters the Steve Gallen of Stoke? Is he? I think he's like the director of football. Yeah. So he would have a say in that matter as well, wouldn't he? Yeah. Interesting.
And it was 5 games in. It was 5 games in and he was fired.
Very early.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me with Stoke. Ben, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts, Ben, on Steve Schumacher? Do you know much about him? Any sort of good or bad things you heard about him, and how do you see him?
Like all of us. Yeah, I think like all of us, mate. He played good football at Plymouth, right? I was impressed with what he did there. Interesting. I was having a look at his record. So his last 10 games for Stoke, he'd actually won 7 of those and had lost 3 and got sacked.
Okay.
So, I mean, look, I think everyone, they're just an absolute basket case, aren't they? So I don't think any manager can go there and succeed. They just go through managers seemingly worse than Watford.
Ben, I want to ask you a question. Sorry, mate. Before I ask that question, in the chat, guys, put the name of the manager that you want to see in charge at Millwall, and we'll go through your comments in a second. Ben, I want to ask you a question. What is deemed as success for the next Millwall manager? The manager comes in. What is going to be, margin as success in your opinion?
Well, that's going to change by every fan, probably even the board. It's such a tough question because for me, it blends into, and it's something that we spoke about in our chat, Joe. It blends into realism versus optimism conversation. And look, we all want to hope that we can get into the playoffs. We all want to hope that we can get to the Premier League. Is our budget strong enough to be able to compete and do that? I get it does happen. Stoke showed that. Coventry showed that. Luton have showed that. So it can and does work, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know what success looks like. Would you say we'd have to get in the playoffs? Because I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would say if we again consistently got into the top half and made a run at the playoffs, I would say that would be success. I wouldn't necessarily say we have to get in the playoffs for the next manager.
But this is the thing, though. As Millwall fans, most of us will feel we should be going to the Premier League, and that's where we should be aiming for the playoff. We should be going up. But are we punching above our weights here a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I say it all the time. I think we are punching above our weight. Football has moved on so much in the last few years. We've heard about all the stuff that's gone on commercially with what the club are trying to do, i.e., all the fan bit at the Den and all that. Look, we're playing catch up in a lot of areas. None more so than I think in recruitment of players, and we've seen that. We are trying to change our tack now, but we are behind the curve in doing that. And for me, I just listen. We're now on, I think, our longest run of being in the second tier of English football without getting relegated. It gets stronger every year, the league. It gets harder every year. The parachute payment clubs just have so much more money than us. It just becomes harder every year. For me, I sit more on the realism side. I'm happy for us to be a mid-table championship team that has a run at the playoffs. If we don't get there, I'm happy to say, look, we can't do it. We haven't got the budget.
We're safe. We're safe. We're up.
We know we've got our club again next year. The club's run properly.
I'm a little bit like that.
No worries like that. For me, that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
but a lot of people will see it differently. I think I'm talking absolute bollocks. So I get that side of it as well. So I think, look, as the next manager, I don't know. What it'd be interesting what the pitch would be to the manager from the club. What would the pitch be? Come and be Millwall manager because we want to get into the playoffs. We want to have a shot at the Premier League. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
We want to be a mid-table side. We want to stay up. We don't want to get relegated. Just want to put a question to you as well. I mean, what do you see as success for next manager that comes in, or how's that be pitched to that manager? You could argue. I think Phil Clark put a tweet out. I think that was yesterday or today. I can't remember what it was now, where he said, arguably, you probably had the best 10 years, the last 10 years. In the club's history, consistently sort of being in the top flight, championship football, not hovering in the lower leagues, building some good teams, putting some money into some good players, and breaking transfer records, season after season after season. So the next manager that comes in, what's going to be the caveat for that person? How are we going to try and incentivize that person? Where's the target's going to be? Is it going to be a realistic target, or do we go with the fan base that say, no, we've got a right and a divine right to be in the Premiership, and we should be then challenging for promotion? Where do you see that sort of sits in?
I wouldn't necessarily measure it by where we end up in the league. I mean, obviously, I don't want us to fight against relegation. I want us to continue the stability that we've had for the past 7 or 8 years. Albeit last season wasn't that very good, but we've been very solid, competitive. I think Gary Rowett, as much as his football was boring, I think he still took us to a new level where he came in and he said, listen, I don't want to be looking down anymore. I think before he came in, we'd always been a championship side looking to avoid relegation, where he came in and said, I want to look towards the top 6. He didn't manage to get in, but he did bring us to a new level
very
of
close
stability where we finished in the top half of the table every season. So you can say what you want about his football. What he didn't manage to do was maybe to get that what would you say, sort of what is the word I'm looking for? Attacking sort of minded style that could have gotten those 7 or 8, 10 extra goals that could have gotten us into the top 6. But I think for the new manager coming in, sorry, Joe, I would see it as a success for him to start sort of a new era, bringing new players through, developing players, sellable assets.
Changing playing style?
Changing playing style, but not too drastically. He needs to realize what he's dealing with, what sort of group of players we have. We are not a tiki-taka sort of team, but I think the players we have can improve going forward as well. I don't think we necessarily have to play so rigid as we are doing at the moment. I think there's definitely room for improvement. And then, as I said, maybe bring in some younger players, give them the opportunity to show what they're capable of, creating some sellable assets so we can make some more money and then reinvest. I think that's how I would look at it as a success criteria.
Nice one. Brilliant. Cheers to that, guys. Right, I'm going to fly through these comments very, very quickly. They're starting to build up again. So Gary says that considering Harris was a striker, he couldn't get ours to score on a consistent basis and lacked tactical ability. We need to play to our team strength and not one up front and hoof ball. Daniel says that we don't play hoof ball, Gary. That's a myth peddled by people who don't watch the game properly or understand it. Born Free Die Free says that we signed a marker as a striker, Livermore, to give him a go on Saturday. He'll be unplayable and get a hat trick. I'd love to see that. I really would. Connor says one positive: if we get Schumacher, we can try and get Mumba from Plymouth. That's a good shout. Gary says that Harris was content playing one up front and Jensen hoofing up to him, hoping he got it. Don't understand why managers don't do well at Stoke. Can't have a scouse at Mill manager. We never understand him. In any interviews he does, seriously, Stoke fans weren't that impressed with him. Damien says that no, Gary, Gary and Will are having their own little debate there at the moment. Colin says that when it comes to Stoke, if 6 managers are doing bad, maybe they are not a problem, and it's the club. Really good point there, Connor. Completely agree there, mate. Simon B says Gary O'Neill. We're going to talk about Gary O'Neill, actually. In fact, let's talk about him now before we go into the other ones. We've got a few coming in on the chat. Guys, Gary O'Neill. So he's recently departed from Wolves, isn't he? And a lot of people saying that he could potentially be a strong candidate for the role. Rumor has it he's actually a big Millwall fan, or he was when he was a kid growing up. I personally would love to get Gary O'Neill there in charge. Will he want that job? A, can we afford him? B, is he still thinking, you know what? I want the next gig. I want to be playing managing a Premiership side, Ben. Do you see that as a realistic option? I mean, at the moment, he's second favourite. If you look at the betting odds, 9-2 with a lot of them at the moment.
Realistic, no. Would I like him? 100%. Watched Wolves a couple of times, albeit not really this year. But I remember that game. Was it last year against United? Was it last game of the season or first game of the season? They absolutely battered them. Yeah. Look, would love him. We can't afford Gary O'Neill. And anyone like that, their next job is very important. And I mean that from a sense of they will be looking at the Premier League again at some point. They will only want to drop down to the Championship. I'd imagine if it's a top 6 side where they know they can do a successful job. And that goes back into your last question, mate. What would success be for Gary O'Neill if he come here? Could he succeed? I don't know. Would love him. Yeah,
is he going to be happy with keeping us up? Is that
exactly that? And that's not a next building block for him to go and get a Premier League job. So
as a young manager, absolutely.
We'd love him, but no chance.
Good point.
But do you think many Premier League clubs would be looking at Gary O'Neill? I'm just looking at his managerial career. He's had 2 or 3 seasons. He was sacked at Bournemouth, and now he was sacked at Wolves. So I'm like, who's going to say he's going to be?
He's had a couple of goes at it, isn't he? It's not as if he just had one good stint, done really well, and been unlucky. That's a very, 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 very good point. But what I do like about him is he seems to have. He's a very, very good tactician. You've seen him play against some Man City and grind out results against them. He's very good at sort of making sure the players are compact and defensively they've got really good shape. And he's tactically, I think he's a very, very good manager. The only thing I don't like about him is he kind of threw the players under the bus a little bit, didn't he, his last game in charge? And I think that's something he probably needs to work on. Is probably his kind of people management, how he sort of treats his players, because that can go against you quite quickly, as we've seen in many sort of teams when they lose a dressing room, But that's an interesting point there. Next on the list there is Robbins, guys. What do you think of Mark Robbins? Again, going to the bookies, he's like third. Well, actually, he's about fifth favourite. He's gone down now. He's down to 8-1. Mark Robbins. Obviously, Mark is very, very well known for his tenure at Coventry City. Again, he's amongst the top contenders for the jobs. Got to the playoffs last season, Ben, and he was unlucky. But a lot of people are putting the onus and the success down to his assistant manager, Vashev, I think his name is, rather than Mark Robbins. And since he's left in the summer, it's all gone downhill from him, isn't it, since then, really?
Yeah, I would love Mark Robbins. That's obviously very well publicised about his assistant. Also, if anyone hasn't already, go and watch Chaps' interview with Sam Parkin. Sam Parkin goes into a bit of detail about that, and he didn't think he'd be a good fit for us, which I thought was quite interesting. But yeah, go and watch that if you haven't. Personally, I mean, look, he's done an unbelievable job at Coventry, didn't he? So, maybe if he could manage to build some friendship again with his assistant and bring him with us, then
bring him back.
Yeah, wouldn't mind that at all. But yeah, I think he will be someone the club will be definitely trying to speak to.
Good shout. Jesper, what's your thoughts on Mark Robbins? Obviously, he's proven as a championship manager a lot of success there, but can he carry that on his own?
Yeah, maybe he could. Very successful at Coventry, we have to admit, and he could potentially do a job for us. I'm just wondering if he's one of those sort of old school managers and whether he would be on board with the new sort of vision which the board would be putting out for him, and if he would be buying into that. So that would be my only concern. But he's definitely got the experience in the championship, and but again, as Ben says, when his assistant left, suddenly things didn't go so well. So how much is he actually doing on the coaching side, and how much would he need sort of a group of coaches to come in with him? So yeah, he's not my favorite, but if he were to be appointed, I wouldn't be too unhappy.
Good point.
And just on Robbins, just to finish, Joe. Sorry, I was just going to say. And look, we don't know. I don't know how it was worked at Coventry, whether they had a director of football making the signings. But if he did have any part to play, let's not forget he signed the likes of Victor Torp recently. Jack Rodoni recently. He signed Gustavo Hamer, Guy Carrez, and they're just recent ones I'm thinking off the top of my head. So if he had any part to do with those,
develop them, sold them for high profit as well, which is exactly which is what we want, don't we? Really.
Exactly, mate. So I say I don't know how Coventry have been working with. They have had a director of football. Good point. If he has been involved in that,
well, that's it. That's the question, isn't it, Ben? Is it him is involved? If it is, then great, he gets it. If it's just as the good scouting team, then I suppose he doesn't really get the credit for it, does he? I suppose. Exactly. Jesper, Tony Mowbray, obviously somebody who's very experienced. Obviously, he's had ill health in recent months. He's come out recently saying that he's back now. He wants to get back into management again. Do you think managing Millwall could make the death of him? Is that going to be the one that sort of like tips him over the edge? I mean, I don't know what's your thought on that.
I mean, if you got the slightest health issues, you should be going anywhere near that job. And to be fair, I think I read the article saying that he would soon be ready to go into management. I don't think he was quite ready yet.
Not just yet.
So okay. I don't think he's an option that we're actually looking at realistically. So no, I don't. I don't see him coming in. Yeah,
no problem. How about yourself, Ben? What's your thoughts on Mowbray?
Yeah, again, would love him. I think did a great job at Sunderland, didn't he? With a very young squad. Again, if we're looking at bleeding in the youngsters, a proper championship manager, seems like a great bloke as well. As said, my only concern would be that we'd send him under, unfortunately, with our fans and the board at the minute. So but I'd love him. I think he's very pro North as well, right? I think his most southern job's been Coventry or Birmingham. So I don't even know if he'd want to come to London.
There is some affiliation to the club. Did he come out once? I don't know whether you guys in the chat will know this or not, or I've just dreamt it. I'm sure he said that he's got very high regards for Millwall. I think he might have been mentioned that he sees as a club that he would love like to manage one day or so. I don't know whether that's going probably a bit extreme, but I think he did say something along to those sort of lines that he really respects Millwall as a club and really likes the fan base and what we're about. So who knows? But I agree with you guys. I think it's probably a little bit too soon, especially if he's just back on the mend at the moment. Connor says, Wagner kept a bang average Huddersfield team in the Premier League and affordable in wages, and he's available, I believe, or was he doing like an assistant coaching job somewhere, isn't he? But again, he's 7-1. So I think he's sort of joint third at the moment with Dave Livermore for the job. So again, he's not a bad shout, Ben. What do you make of Wagner?
Yeah, obviously, again, did a great job at Huddersfield, didn't he? I think, again, their recruitment was good that first year they went up. I think, yes, you might be able to tell me, they dipped into the German market quite a bit that year to get them out of the Championship. Solid Championship manager. And my dad's told me he's been at the Den a couple of times this season as well. So
he has,
potentially was looking at one for the end of the season, obviously before Neil resigned. So I think he's got a decent record at this level. Wouldn't mind him at all.
Yeah, there's usually no smoke without fire there, Ben. So to your point, if he's been there a couple of times watching us, you do wonder, don't you? Just what do you think of him? Obviously, he had a great time at Huddersfield, not so great at Norwich. I know a lot of fans didn't particularly feel he'd done that well there, and his football wasn't exactly good on the eye either. What do you make of him as a contender?
Echo a bit what Ben said. And if you only look at the stats, I think he did fairly well at Norwich. I don't know why Norwich think they have the right to think they have to. They should be in the playoffs every season, but he did take them to the playoff last season. They got battered by Leeds 4-0, and then he was sacked afterwards, which also surprised me. And then he took a Huddersfield team on a budget to the Premier League, survived the first season in the Premier League, and then they got relegated after, and he was then eventually sacked. But he's got experience. He's gotten out of the league before. He's gotten into the playoffs. My only concern is, can we have a German being in charge of a Millwall team? That's the big question.
So the criteria is no Scousers, no Germans. Anything else you want to throw in the mix? No West Ham, no Palace.
I think West Ham would top it, wouldn't it? No, but on a serious, I think on a serious note, he's a candidate that I think could do a job. But then again, he's 52. Is he a manager? Is he a head coach? Again, I think that's the eternal question for all of the candidates, isn't it? Like, who will be on board this sort of vision that is being laid out by the board?
Exactly, and be a bit of a yes man or a puppet, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
It's not a big attraction for a lot of high profile managers, is it? Born Free Die Free says Harris is it who he would choose. Jonathan says Alex Neil for me, following that Schumacher. Just what's your thoughts on Alex Neil? I mean, again, he's somebody who has had a lot of success in the past, hasn't been successful on one or two occasions, but he certainly knows his way around the Championship league, and again, he's had success. I think with Norwich, I believe at the time. Did he get promoted with Norwich? I think maybe Ben can do a bit more in-depth analysis on Alex Neil. I just think from the games I've seen with him in charge, football has looked a bit dire. Not that it has.
Not that interesting. But he's been successful. So. You could argue for and against here, but I haven't seen too much of it. But just on top of my head, he wouldn't be one of my favourites.
Yeah, interesting point. And Ben, what's your thoughts on Alex Neil? 10-1 with the bookies at the moment. I know Chris Chaps is quite a big sort of secret admirer of Alex Neil. He's been saying it since the last time round when we signed Joe Edwards. He would pick Alex Neil. I agree with Jesper. My personal opinion is I think he's a little bit boring, a bit negative the way he plays his football, and I had enough of that under Rowett. I want to be entertained a bit more. What's your thoughts on that, Alex Neil?
Yeah, he would be one I'd be a bit meh about out of everyone we've mentioned so far. I wouldn't moan about him. I wouldn't be screaming and shouting like probably a couple of the other names you've mentioned, but I think one of the listeners said earlier, apart from Stoke, again, which is the common theme here with all these managers, he has done a relatively good job pretty much everywhere else he's gone. So, play style, can't really remember too much about his Preston, Sunderland and Stoke sides. I can't remember how they played really. So,
and Norwich,
I'd be okay. Wouldn't, not after that, Alex Neil.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, I agree. Dave Turner says, I don't know if it's a step too far, but maybe Nugent and Robbo for him, sort of sharing a job. I don't know. Again, that'd probably be the cheap option, a bit risky. Haven't really got a lot of experience between them, have they? I guess, So that'd be a tough one.
I'd be underwhelmed if we went down that route.
Yeah, I would be. To lose Harris and get them in, I agree with you. Mowbray, again, is another shout. Good evening, Alex. Hope you all, mate. Cheers for joining us. And Robert says that what managers are actual managers and which ones are actually head coaches. It's only going to be the latter for the club will be interesting. Otherwise, why let Harris go? Which is, again, very, very good point. Gary says, Robbins, but don't think he'll come. So I think we'll gamble on Bloomfield. Bloomfield's an interesting one. He's got a bit quiet now, hasn't he, Ben? Because at one point, he was like the hot favourite, going back a few days or so. And everyone's talking about him. He's currently the Wycombe Wanderers manager, top of the league, top of the league. And he's fighting the likes of Wrexham and Birmingham at the moment, who have got substantially a lot more money to play with than he has. But yet he's playing, some good football. He's getting results. He's scoring goals, and they're doing really, really well on him. He's a young up and coming manager. What's your thoughts on Matt Bloomfield?
Yeah, I went on a real peak and trough with Bloomfield. Initially, when he got rumoured to be, or when he was 1-4 at one point and heavily odds on, I was like, have we really got rid of Harris to get him in? Then I actually looked at it, listened to what, again, Sam Parkin had said, and he went, David Way went from a heavily direct Gareth Ainsworth style of football, and Bloomfield has come in and transitioned that, albeit it's not been tiki-taka, but he's transitioned it into a better style, and they're doing really well in the league. So I've come around it a bit, and now he's 14-1 or 12-1. So I can only assume by that massive drift in the market, and this is purely betting analytics I'm going on here. The fact he's gone from heavily odds on to 12-1, I would almost assume he's not getting the job. I would imagine, just by that move in the market, again, could be totally wrong, but normally betting trends when they go like that, it only means one thing. The fact he's gone from such heavily odds on favourite to odds against, I would say he may have even spoken to the club, someone knows something, and they know he's not getting it, would be my opinion on that. But yeah, if we went down that route, I'm more around to it now, having listened to Sam Parkin talk about him.
Great point. And Jesper, what's your thoughts on Matt Bloomfield? Have you done any like digging into him and any kind of idea as to whether or not you feel he'd be a good fit for what we're looking for?
Well, potentially he could be, but I think Wycombe is his first real managerial job, and I think he's also a club legend there, isn't he? Just like Harris is at Millwall. So
one club, I think, isn't he? I think from memory, I think he's been there like 400
500 games he played for Wycombe. Yeah. So maybe there's a connection there as well that goes very well hand in hand at the moment, and hence why they're doing so well in League One. And maybe he's thinking, is it worth the risk now joining a club one league above, which we could potentially be playing next season? I could maybe see that as a stumbling block for him not to come. But he's an interesting choice. I don't know too much about him, but like Ben said, he's transitioned a very direct Wycombe side who couldn't string two passes together to suddenly being a team who can mix it up now. So he's done that within a very short time, done a very good transition. And I think right now they're on a 16-17 match unbeaten run in the league. So he's done tremendously well, but again, very unknown. Haven't got that much experience in not the Championship and in English league football at all.
Interesting, though, isn't it? Interesting.
If we went down that route, question back to you guys, and Joe, I know you haven't really had your say in this, so I'll chuck it back to you. If we went with Bloomfield, would you view that as a risk by the club, given the fact, like Jesper said, he hasn't got championship experience? And I'll add a bit onto that. If we go with a manager at all, whoever it may be, who doesn't have championship experience, do you think it's a bit of a risk?
I think so. I think, the board is certainly looking at someone who's experienced as a manager in the Championship, who can, almost path the way for us. It depends, again, where they see us being, whether they see us, fighting for promotion or just stabilising mid-table. But I think you are going to look at someone who's got that Championship experience. However, we've seen it in the past with Kieran McKenna at Ipswich. He's somebody who come from Man United academy. Had he come in, and I think his first job was at Ipswich, although it was in League One, wasn't it, to be fair? And he done wonders there, got him promoted, and carried that going into the Premiership from the Championship. So, a lot of these young managers coming through, certainly have this kind of way of kind of working with players and playing good football, being very effective as well. Now, I know with Matt Bloomfield, he didn't come through the academy sort of route as Kieran McKenna has, but again, he's had success in League One, done very, very well there, and made a transition to Championship football. So I can't see why he couldn't replicate what Kieran McKenna done, in my opinion. I don't know, you know. So interesting one, isn't it? But let's go back to the chat, guys. Where are we going? So Gary says Robbins, you don't think will come. And then Daniel Winson, with respect, I felt like hearing about Luton and Coventry. Luton are a one-off. Coventry haven't got an out of this division. Get £25,000 plus every week. Had the likes of Gyökeres, Hamer and O'Hare. Jeff says that personally, I like Gary O'Neill. Don't think they'll pay him though, and if they did, we probably won't have a budget for players. He's a Millwall fan, and I've heard from he'll love to come here. Again, that's that kind of old, old-fashioned sort of love we've got for the game as Millwall fans. We want our own. We want our own in there, don't we? And is that going to work for us as much as it is for him? Who knows? But at the moment, he's second favourite, Jeff. So he's in with a shout, isn't he? Put it that way. Daniel Wells says, now they have a £10 million striker up top. Coventry aren't the yardstick. No, that's fair, Daniel. But I guess if you go back a year or so, or two, that's probably where Millwall were probably nowish, I would say. And that's the point we're trying to make. Can Mark Robbins make us the Coventry of, say, last season,
just to add to that, Joe, they've made progression, right? And I think that's the point. You've seen they've bought players in for lower fees, sold them on for bigger fees, and they've continued to invest in it. Look, it's not happening for them now, but I think Lampard and Joe Edwards will turn it around for them. And that's the point, right? If you can build that recruitment strategy like we always talk about, of buying low, selling high, as long as we reinvest it, we're then building those blocks to one, catch up to the rest of the league and then push on to the next level. So I do get the point that they haven't done it yet, but I don't think they're far off and they've done well.
And they have reinvested. Okay, they haven't, at the time they sold Gyökeres, they then get Ellis Sims in, who we think that's a great signing, and the other guy from Canada. Maybe they might have paid a little bit above the odds. I'm hearing it was like 7-8 million for Ellis Sims, was it? If I'm mistaken, I don't know if that's correct or not.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but again, they have been trying to reinvest that money back into the club and buy other players. So again, Mark Robbins has worked in that system. He understands it. He gets it. So again, he could be a good fit for it. But to your point earlier, though, Ben, he has to be slipping down the betting odds, and the betting people don't get it wrong, do they? Often, Sorry, I had to mute there while I cough. Dave says, I think this year's championship isn't as strong as previous years. Jonathan agrees with you, Ben. He says, bang on Greeny. Is he your mate, is he?
Don't know.
I don't know. He's now.
My burner account, he is now.
Yeah, your burner account. Jesus says that I'm not keen on any of the linked managers. O'Neill out of our budget. Alex O'Neill is a Scot. Bloomfield inexperienced. Schumacher similar to Rowett. Wagner the best option. Got Hudders promoted on a low budget. Yeah, all excellent.
I think Schumacher's similar to Rowett there, GC. He played some decent stuff with Plymouth.
I think he did at Plymouth. It was quite, I think just mentioned it earlier as well. He did play quite attacking football at Plymouth, certainly in the promotion.
Again, it might be more League One. But...
Yeah, and he didn't do too badly in his first stint in the Championship with them. I think they did all right, didn't they? They still got a few results from memory, I think, Oscar says that Gary, good call, but will Bloomfield want to leave Wickham as they're flying at the moment? The Josh says, I'll be happy with Schumacher, played good football at Plymouth. Yep, that's what we were saying earlier. Schumacher or Lee Carsley. I saw Lee Carsley in the mix earlier. I'm pretty sure he's like 33-1.
Yeah,
again,
just having a look now.
The fact they're sort of like looking at as a possibility, he's not like a long shot as too much, is he? I mean, I'm sure managers often, the starting around sort of 30-1, 20-1, they suddenly become a favourite, don't they, Hughes says, calm down. She would get us playing attacking football every week. Alan Peter says, break the bank for O'Neill. Okay. I presume that's Gary O'Neill or not Alex Neil, yeah. Andrew says, heard that O'Neill is actually a Spurs fan, but does have a soft spot for Millwall. How true that is, I don't know. It probably is true, Andrew, but if it is, I don't want to hear it. I want to go with Jeff's Jeff's reasoning that he's a Millwall fan. That's what I want to believe. Downwind says, it's very true, Andrew. It's a myth that O'Neill is Millwall. You're right. He is Spurs. Grew up in Burnt Ash, Downham, and still lives in Farnborough Park. Thank you, Daniel and Andrew, for bursting our bubble. Now Gary O'Neill could fucking do one. I don't want him now. now he's Spurs. Dave Toad says maybe Andy Woodman and Dunny. Yeah. Alex S says, why don't we go woke and bring in Serena Wigman? Could you imagine that? Fucking hell. Gary says, spot on Jesper. There you go. There's a good shout, Alex. Have you guys seen we're linked with Shamrock Rovers manager Stephen Brady today? Thoughts on that? Again, we don't know if these are rumours, Dan. I think there's a media outlet or some kind of journalist or something that is very close to him and a few other of the Irish boys, and they keep leaking out these bits of information, but it's not often the case. But I think he's doing really well at Shamrock Rovers from the sound of it. But that's a massive jump, isn't it, from Shamrock Rovers to Championship football. Joseph says, need someone with Championship know-how. Dave says, Gary O'Neill, play for West Ham. If he comes in, he won't. It'll be sunglasses all round as his teeth will dazzle everyone. Simon says, can't see a Prem team going for him. Will be a good opportunity for him, in my opinion. Yeah, very good point. But I guess to Ben's point, Simon, earlier, what you're saying is, are we going to be the team that he wants on his CV? Yeah, when you're manager of two Premiership teams, Bournemouth and Wolves, yes, you've got sacked, but you want to be aiming high. You don't want to drop into a team that maybe wants to stabilise themselves in the Championship, you know. Could be wrong, but who knows? Andrew says, I would prefer Nugent to get the interim manager job as he coached Marku, Massey, SA, etc. In the past. I would know how the under 21s would be ready to step up into the first team. That's a very good point, especially the board looking to sort of play the youngsters. That's not a bad shout at all there, Andrew. Jack Brown says, Dan, he is bad. The current managers, I am from Ireland. I watched the Ireland League. There you go. We've heard it from one of their own. Cheers to that, Jack. Gary says, I know O'Neill needs to be realistically. I don't think any Premiership team will touch him. He needs a Championship club to prove himself again. He is probably out of our price range. Alex says, why would he want to rekindle with Adi Vivash? That's the guy, Vivash, when he could work with Adam Barrett. I love that, Alex. Love that. Andrew says, our managers like Robbins, Cooper, Schumacher, etc., head coaches. If they're not, then can't see they'll be taken on, as the board won't want managers anymore. It's a very good point. Again, you know, what we think is a good manager, a good fit for Millwall, may not be what the board want, because they want a head coach that's not going to get involved in recruitment or have too much to say on certain sides of that. So it's very hard us understanding what the board want compared to what we see as a good manager, you know.
Just to caveat that as well, right? And we are kind of guessing. Look, the manager / head coach, if anyone's watched the Class of 92 on Sky, you would have seen episodes of where they do like recruitment meetings. The head coach and the managers will 100% be involved. The club at this point might have just thought, Neil's not going to be here long term, so we don't want him in that, or we don't want his input in that. So It might not be the fact that we're talking about a head coach / manager. They're still going to be involved. Otherwise, no one's going to want to come and work here, right? If they get told you're completely hands off, you're not going to have any input, no one will want to come in. So I think they will. I just don't think. Clearly, it was more of a Harris thing than a longevity thing. I would imagine. Do
you think that Harris thing was because he said, "Look, I'm here for 18 months. That's it. You know, I'm
100%. We're talking about CVs, right? He's looking at it, going, "How am I going to get my next job after Millwall?" Let's be honest. That's how we would have viewed it, and he would have wanted a successful time. So his profile of player would have been very different to, I'd imagine, what as we keep saying, as the board would have looked at. So.
Good point. Yeah. Good point. So what we're saying is, you know, yes, we understand that Harris' frustrations was he wasn't getting involved in the direction of the club, recruitment, etc. But are we saying that there might be a little bit easier on the new manager coming in?
Yeah, they're going to have to be, right?
Yeah, I agree.
They're going to have to be, mate.
Yeah.
But do you think it's a matter of new coach coming in saying, "Well, I need a left back, I need a centre back, I need a striker"? So he gets to sort of have his say in what positions he needs to strengthen, but then who we actually going to start, what type of player, that would be up to sort of the sporting director and the scouting team.
But you know what, Jess, I guess it's hard because it's levels, isn't it? But that happens quite a lot in Premiership clubs. You look at Arteta, for example. when Edu was director of football and dealing with recruitment stuff, Arteta didn't really have much say on what players they were purchasing. He would probably sit down to both of your point there. He'll say, right, we need to strengthen this area. I would like to have a winger or a fullback, whatever. And they will go out and they'll look at players and everything else and tell them, right, we're going to sign this player or that player. They didn't quite get it right all the time. I think they signed a player called Pepe once for like 75 million, who was a bit of a waste of money.
Yeah,
and Arteta made that quite clear, that he wasn't particularly someone who got them on board, didn't really want him, but they kind of signed him. And it worked. It didn't work out for them. But then you could argue they made some really good signings, the likes of Declan Rice, Odegaard, Martinelli, and these are all players that Arteta didn't really have much say in. Partey, etc. Saliba, who I think come through their kind of youth sort of system a little bit. So, it can work. But I think to your guys, to what Ben just said, what you said, yes, but I think a new manager comes in, has to have a say at least in what type of player they want, and then leave it to the experts.
That's how it will be, mate. And again, if you remember back to when Joe Edwards come in, if you remember the Tanganga signing, he said in his interview when we signed him, he went, I didn't know Jaffet was going to be available until the recruitment team came to me and said there was a possibility. So that's what it will be. Joe would have gone, I want a centre half with these attributes. Give me a list, and then they've obviously come back. So again, that's exactly
what's interesting there, Ben, is that Joe Edwards played a big part in Jaffet signing for us because of his relationship with the England squad.
So that's my point. So he would have gone, we need a centre half. The recruitment team would go, these are the people we think are available, and then it'll be over to obviously Joe to be a part of that. So I think when we're getting a bit carried away, I think everyone is about this new direction. The new manager is going to have an input in who he wants. So otherwise no one will want to come and work for us. They're not going to say, we know we're going to sign you a centre-back if the manager doesn't want a centre-back. It's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. Guys, I need to fly through these comments here because we've got so many here. So I'm going to go through them very, very quickly. So Gary Miles has said that Livermore is only 7-1 bookie's favourite. Pay out after 10 games, depending on when someone comes in. 10 games for Livermore could be possible. Andrew says Millwall Jones don't mix well who Fuchs anyone. You can throw in the Vag Slammer as well on that one. Cora says Livermore out already. GC says I see us linked with Lincoln. Skabula, never heard of him myself. Okay, interesting. Alex Mitchell says Schumacher for me, he knows the championship and could work well with the budget. Charlie says going to take weeks given the fixture congestion of the time this year, and it's going to be a very, very busy period now. You're right. Tony Pulis, again, great shout, although he's 40-1 at the moment with most betting companies. But again, look at his sides over the years. It's very direct, long ball. You can imagine Ryan Leonard being a prime Rory Delap, couldn't you, on throw-ins for that one? So that'll be interesting one. That did come up. Charlie Mahoney says that Hal Wilson has now moved into the odds-on favourite. Is he still alive? Hal Wilson.
I was just thinking it's the same.
Yeah, wouldn't have him if it's true. He's ex Leeds. Commentary fan here. You get Robbins, you get the plus 100%. You get him versus Vivash promoted. That's interesting, Finn, and I appreciate you sharing it with us, mate. I guess from the outside looking in, and you probably tell us we're right or wrong here, I feel that Robin's success was mainly down to Vivash. I hear a lot about him being a big part of the players, the coaching and everything else and the tactics, whatever. So, and then also, it just seems weird that the Vivash then goes in the summer and then Robbins is left in charge on his own. And of course, the team goes backwards rather than forwards. So it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on that. John Shipman said, I really worry we'll end up with a few options again, like we end up with Lomas or Edwards. Some reason we are not an attractive job. Finn, he fell out with Vivash, so can't see them getting back together again. Finn says that he may well persuade him. That's what we're hoping for, aren't we, guys? If Robbins is going to be in the mix, and we don't know whether he is now, he is slipped down to 8-1. If he can rekindle that kind of bromance with Vivash, then we've got half a chance there of signing them together.
Just about to ask as well, Andrew. But do we know was it a falling out? I don't know actually what happened, or was it? Yeah. What actually happened?
I don't know if it was a fallout between him or whether it was Vivash and the board, or whether it was Vivash and Robbins. It'd be interesting to know what that's about. But if it's the board, then great.
Yeah, it's different, right?
But I'm hearing that it's probably more Robbins than him. So it'd be interesting if we could find a bit more about that. John Shipman, we're attractive job because how we finished most seasons and registered. Yeah, good. Yeah, and also when you look at us where we are as a club financially. We're not in a difficult situation. A lot of clubs are in debt, but we're nowhere near some of these clubs, the debts that they carry. Andrew said, Finn, would be good that could happen, but Robbins is a head coach. He's not. Would he change to be head coach to get a job? Finn says, if Robbins wants to work again, he has to come head coach. Every club is going that way. Really, really good point, Finn. Fair point. What's the obsession with O'Neill? Won 3 of the last 30 games, conceding more goals than anyone, and the worst set-piece record in the league at this stage in history. But again, we're talking about Premier League, aren't we? And he's up against some real big boys there, isn't he? Gary O'Neill. Rob T says, sounds perfect for Millwall. Carsey, just a T-boy. After Harris, I think Gallen will want a yes man. Again, I thought that, Alex, and I think we all thought, but just discussing it today with myself, Jesper, Ben, and all you guys in the chat as well, we're thinking to ourselves, is it really a yes man that they want? Or do they just look at Harris as the short term and didn't want to consult him much because they think, you know what, you're not going to be here, so therefore we don't need to involve you in this, you know? Who knows? It'll be interesting what happens when the new manager does come in. How has Gallen managed to acquire so much power in such a short space of time with no proven track record to fall back on other than Nick's short spell with Charlton? Good question. Harris would have known that some of the board want to go the head coach. What's going to brought the players in and why didn't Harris leave before the start of the season? Saving a lot of grief. Again, I don't know if this is true or not, Andrew, but I'm hearing rumours that I think he did possibly look to leave at the end of last season. But I think he was talked into staying. And that's the reason why there's always been this kind of like, does he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? I think he kind of made his mind up. I think he wants to leave on a high after the success of last season.
Aligns with a lot of the comments as well, Joe, doesn't it? I imagine if he was, maybe his mind was changed at all, and he was going, well, you've made me stay, now give me the tools type thing.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
It all seems to be.
It almost adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it, Ben? Like,
absolutely.
You maybe stay. Well, now
give me the tools.
You know? Exactly. Jose Mourinho 20-1. Okay, that's interesting. Definitely in the mix, then, isn't he? That's probably thanks to Angelo, the Sicilian Godfather. Him and his henchmen are doing a job out there at the moment. David Turner says that surely as a manager coach, you have to trust the scouts recruitment, as you wouldn't have enough time to coach and watch games. My worry about buying youngsters, so for high fees is great, long as the board they invest the money and don't use the money for a new training ground. Again, because that could kill us. You can see what's happened with Luton, for example. All the money that they're getting from being in the Premier League is going into their stadium, and they're hemorrhaging players now, aren't they? They can't reinvest into players, unfortunately. Imagine with Mourinho as our manager at West Ham away, Will Win and Mourinho's running around shushing the West Ham fans, getting pulled back by the Millwall players. Could you imagine that? I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Finn says, we don't 100% know. I think Doug King is full of bullshit. Before it finishes, hit the like button. It's for a good cause. Thank you, David. Honestly, David, if it wasn't for you, mate, I'll be in trouble because chats be saying to me, we really got to be pushing it. So you keep reminding me. Thanks for that. Guys, if you haven't done it yet, and I'm sure 95% of you on here at the moment have done it because you're good like that. But if you haven't done it yet, please like this show. Again, it helps with the algorithms. It helps generate more money. All the money we get, all the profits we get goes to Cancer Research UK. So again, thank you for doing that. If you haven't done that already, please like and share this. And if you haven't subscribed as well, please subscribe. Again, that's something else I keep forgetting. David, if you can remind me from now on to ask them to like and subscribe. I keep forgetting that. Well, I think we're about 30 subscriptions below 1,500 subscribers at the moment. So again, if you can subscribe, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that as well because that will really, really help us. Thank you very much for that, David. Regarding Schumacher, Stokes' league position hasn't improved since Barrett left. And they've had 5 managers since then. I've had a look at their forum and they think they got treated harshly. Okay, interesting. Carl says, Neil Harris will be back. Let's hope he's not coming back to save us, Carl. Bluefield, good option. Took a very direct team into a winning team, playing a more versatile style. A risk because of experience. True. Alex says, the only thing Angelo's scouting over there is an ice-cold FS. Yes, exactly. David, cheers, mate. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks a lot. Guys, a few more on the list. We've got the main top sort of, 20, whatever. But Ben, Gary Rowett, 12-1. That strikes me as somebody who's very, very much in contention when you're 12-1 odds. Obviously, we know he's previously managed Millwall, done quite well with us. As Jeff said earlier, we've always finished in the top half of the league, very narrowly missing out to a playoff place in his season before he left against Blackburn, of course. But again, he's listed amongst these possible successors at the moment. What do you make of that, of Rowett coming back?
It's never happening. I look back on his time. I get a bit pelters for this. His football wasn't great, but I thought his time with us was a success. And I will not be told otherwise. The year of COVID, we would have got in the playoffs and we would have won the playoffs. We were absolutely fucking flying under him that year.
That's true.
Yeah, anyway, never happening. It seems, though, there's been a lot of talk about him going to Oxford today on Twitter.
Well, that's what Oscar just said just there, and I heard that earlier today as well. So, and that could be a really good fit. I mean, Oxford have got sort of plastic fans, haven't they? They're not really known for their volatility or being sort of difficult or whatever. So that might suit Rowett quite nicely.
I would be almost certain he would keep him up.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, they'll give him the time. They won't give him too much hassle. And we know what Rowett's like when the fans get on his back a little bit. He does like to retaliate a little bit, doesn't he? So
when do we play Oxford?
Yeah, it's coming up soon, I think, isn't it? I think we're playing. Is it on New Year's Day or something along those lines? I think. Yeah.
There you go. It's written in the stars there, isn't it?
Interesting. Yeah, I think we're at home for that one as well from memory. Really, really good. Imagine new manager as a mayor. Harris comes back in February, saves us. Then says to the board, I'll stay, but as manager, and I'll buy the players. I love that. We love that. Another one on the mix, guys. 20-1, Jesper. Neil Warnock. You're a Warnock fan? What's your thoughts on Neil Warnock?
Warnock, I think he's very good entertainment. But I think he's just past it now, isn't he? I mean, if we go down that route, then we're not. I mean, we're just taking 4 steps back, aren't we? I mean, Harry should have stayed. Then there's no point in appointing. I mean, he's done incredibly well over the years. He's apparently not the best tactician, but he gets. He can
motivate.
He's a real good, man motivator. But I can't see that happening, and I don't want to see it happening. That's not progression for me. If we were to put him in charge,
no, I agree. Would you agree with that point, Ben? I mean, he's certainly done a really good job for Huddersfield that time when he come in and saved them the last. Was it 4 months? I think he was in charge, and he got them enough points to keep them up, and done really, really well. He even got a win over us, didn't he? If you remember at the Den, where we lost 1-0 to them,
where he buttered us up beforehand, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And he marked Fleming completely out of the game.
Yeah,
I never forget that because I spoke to Fleming after the game, and he was saying it's the first time in my career I've been man-marked. He said, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what to do. He admits himself, like, it was a bit of a weird sort of feeling for him, but he done a job last, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I think maybe 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, yeah, probably. He's happy enough playing golf now with his son on Instagram, and I think he's enjoying that.
He does live down south, doesn't he, from memory? I believe he does live down in Kent somewhere, yeah. So he's not a million miles away, And the reason why he's down here, because he loves it. I think the house he's got his own like fishing lake behind it, and it's all private grounds, and he loves it, But
that's what I mean. He's enjoying his retirement, and I'd say 5 years ago. Can I chuck a name out? And people are probably gonna laugh at this. Darren Moore doing a good job at Port Vale.
You know what? He done brilliant at West Brom, didn't he, as well before that?
Done a really good job at West Brom.
I like him,
Good job. Was very, very, very hardly treated at Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
Obviously got him promoted. And had a very, very,
very
really harshly treated there. I know Port Vale went down, but that was nothing to do with him. They're flying now in League Two. Yeah. I wouldn't be against that at all.
Good shout. Very, very good shout. I've had a look earlier. I can't remember what it was now, what his odds were. I
haven't even seen his name mentioned, but he was just someone I thought of earlier. I wouldn't mind going down Darren Moore route at all.
Yeah, no, very, 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 very good point. Very good point. Let's go to the chat very, very quickly, guys. So, a very quick no to Warnock from War Lion. Alex says that 5 years ago, I loved Warnock. A bit like you, Ben. He agrees with you there. 4-4 effing 2. Yeah. Alex Mitchell says Warnock is past it and short term leave well alone. Yeah, agree. What was the first manager to nullify Fleming? There you go. Yeah, and he wasn't the same player after that because other managers did the same thing, and Fleming was never to.
That's called genius, is all I'm hearing there, Andrew.
Yeah, I know exactly. Give him the job now. Alex says he lives in Devon, right? Devon. For some reason, I thought it was Kent. So cheers for putting me right there, Alex. G says Rowett is 1 to 5 for the Oxford job. That's basically done deal. Yeah, I agree. Wallline says lives in Cornwall, so somewhere in the southwest, in that direction. That direction. Stephen Bradley now favourite with the Sky bet for the Shamrock guy. So Stephen Bradley now favourite with Sky bet for the Shamrock guy.
Is he saying he's now? Oh, he is. Yeah, he is now. Stephen Bradley is now 5 to 2 favourite.
Who's Stephen Bradley? Sorry, the Shamrock guy.
The Shamrock Rovers manager. He's now favourite.
The Millwall.
Yeah, he's now favourite. I've just refreshed the page. He's now 5 to 2. Schumacher's 11 to 4.
Jesus Christ, guys! Can we in the chat if you got Google next to you, could you do some digging onto Stephen Bradley and just see what you can find out about him while we're on here? I'm sure these guys.
I've done that as well. I've done that. So he only managed Shamrock from 2016 until now.
Okay.
But I would assume that he's done, well with them. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed for 8 years.
8 years, a long time.
Yeah, he's had a playing career. He was at Arsenal's books, and he's played a bit in Scotland and mainly Ireland.
Yeah,
he was a scout. He was a scout for Arsenal for 5 years. Then got the caretaker manager role at Shamrock, and then into the manager's role.
That's interesting. Is he young, old? Do we know much about his age?
40, I think I just saw.
Okay, it's a good age. Good age.
Yeah, 40.
Really interesting. I just can't believe how he just jumped up from nowhere. Literally, I don't think he was even.
What is it now, Ben? On the
he's favourite. He's 5 to 2.
Wow,
5 to 2. That's quite a jump, isn't it?
So
from a rumor that came out of nowhere 2 hours ago to being the
what was Steven Schumacher now then? What's Steven Schumacher?
He's 11 to 4. So you got
so 2.5 down now.
2.5 to 1 and 2. Well, Schumacher's gone from 9 to 4 to 11 to 4. So not a huge drift from him, but yeah Bradley's now 5 to 2 favourite. Interesting.
We've been going for 1 hour and 45 minutes on this live at the moment. Could you imagine at the end of it we'll announce the new manager and we'll do it to you live on here? That'd be something.
After another hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Part 2. Go to Darren Moore point, Ben. A few people in the chat mentioned it. So we've got not a bad shout from GC. Carl's going for yes for Darren Moore. Andrew said Darren Moore said he wants to stay as number 2. Not interested anymore in being a manager. Okay,
he's Port Vale manager though, Andrew.
Yes.
Is he at Port Vale now? Is he?
Yeah, he's been manager. He's Port Vale manager.
Ah, there you go. Finn says, so from the list, who do you prefer? I don't know. Is that a question to us, Finn? Very quickly, guys. Let's go around us 3. Who wants to go first? Jesper, Ben, who would you pick?
Go on, Jesper. I'll let you go first, mate.
Oh, gun to my head. I'll probably say Schumacher.
You go for Schumacher. I'll go for Matt Bloomfield. About you, Ben?
I would go with Schumacher as well, and I'm going to stick with my little Darren Moore. As an outsider.
Yeah, there you go. Darren Moore, excellent shout. Lots of love for Darren Moore coming through. Dean Smith is managing USA. I thought he was a decent manager. Anyone seen Fleming's goal for Burnley the weekend? What a goal that was. What a cracker. What's interesting is on the forums of Burnley, they were slagging him off.
Yeah, I was just seeing that all on Twitter.
I saw that. They were slagging him off there, weren't they, on the socials? Yeah. And they also just scored that goal from nowhere. Everyone's like, oh, right. What a player,
And that's another thing, Joe, when we talk about goal contributions within our team. When was the last time we saw a screamer like that down at the Den? When was the last time,
Good point.
You have to go way back,
Savile, get Sheffield Wednesday away, maybe, outside the box.
Oh, that's a good question. Now
I can't remember what one being any sooner. Again, in the chat, if you know the answer to that one, stick it in there. The Mirror reported that the Shamrock Rovers manager. Okay, it was the Mirror reporting it, was it? Okay, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it was the Irish Mirror.
Right. Okay. Robbins and Vivash comes back to work with him, and they're both happy taking the head coach role. Yeah. Oscar says massive risk if that happens. He's won the league with them, but they have the biggest budget in Ireland. Right, okay, so is it a little bit easier for him then, I guess, if he's got the best players? What happened to Gary Rowett, the second that managed in Scotland? Yes?
Can I just say on another note, I think
I was getting worried. I thought you were announcing that. Yeah, it's been announced that this guy's got the job.
No.
Oh,
I read actually that they're doing incredibly well in the Conference League this year. I think if they were to win at Chelsea, they actually go through as I think they're set 5th or 6th in the Conference League now.
Who's that?
So I would say, Shamrock.
Really?
Rovers. I think they're playing Chelsea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bloody
So
hell,
they're
there you
actually
go.
doing well in Europe as well, which I think is quite interesting for an Irish team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happened to Gary Rowett, second that managed in Scotland? Or was that his second? Oh, what's that guy? Is it Davidson? What's his name? Yeah. Well, he's not there anymore, is he? I think he might have got the sack when he left there, that club in Scotland. But it's a good point, actually. He done really well, didn't he, when he was number 2 to Gary Rowett? There you go. You're right about the Port Vale job there. David Turner, there you go. Callum Davison, that was the guy. He got the sack for St Johnson. Nice one. Cheers, Connor. Bluefoot and Schumacher for me. They apparently managing Queen's Park. We're missing Fleming this season. We are. Callum Davison, last thing I heard was he was at St Johnson. Leonard was the last person to score, but it was disallowed there, Ben. Robbins or Moore for Carl Bracey. Ryan Longman versus Leicester. There you go. That was like the second last game of the season.
That? Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best screamers we've seen down there, isn't we? Yeah. Good
Why
shout.
is Longman still injured, by the way? Just as a side note.
No, he started recently. I think he started last game for Hull, actually.
Well done, Husey. Rob T said Bloomfield has done wonders in a division that has Brum and Wrexham spending big money. Exactly. Most league goals, not about possession stats, but experience would be a punt. Probably Larry goal against Charlton. That's going back a few years, that free kick, wasn't it? Where are we? Sorry, I'm coughing, so I'm putting myself on mute there. Fleming scored screamers. Longman versus Leicester was a worldie. Agree, Rob seems a good fit. Bradley 12-1 with Bet Victor. Okay. Longman against Leicester. Yes, Longman's goal. Guys, while I have a coughing attack, can you guys take over for a couple of seconds?
Make sure you're all good. You haven't been.
Am I on mute now?
No.
Shit. So I was on mute. No one told me.
No, I just thought it was quite funny. You saying you're on mute, you were coughing your
Thanks
guts.
for that. Right. I was coughing my guts. I'm all right now.
Good.
It's funny. How did we forget?
So am I on mute now or not? I don't know if I'm on mute or not.
No, you're not now.
You're not.
You haven't been on mute at all, mate. So don't worry about it.
All right, okay. Where were we? Okay, so let's end it off. So Chris Houghton, 33-1. Obviously got Brighton promoted with a small budget at the time. Done pretty well. David Moyes, 33-1. I'm not sure if any of you guys would like that. Obviously big affiliation with West Ham. He's available. John Terry, 33-1. Steve Cooper, 33-1. Ashley Cole, 40-1. And an interesting one here, Sam Allardyce, 40-1. Now, Sam Allardyce
he's been itching to get back into management, hasn't he? If you've been listening to his podcasts.
Oh, really? And interesting that he was actually at the game at Coventry as well, when Mill played Coventry at home. So he was actually there last weekend. So again, what's all that about? Wagner's been there twice. Allardyce has been there as well, watching us from the director's
What a career that would be. England manager to Millwall.
I know. We actually played for Millwall, didn't he, Allardyce?
Yeah.
Many, many moons ago. So he had an affiliation there. But that's pretty much it, guys. I think we covered more or less every sort of manager from the sort of top 20 on the list there, really. So I guess to end it off now, guys, just want to get your opinions really on the game on Saturday. We play against Blackburn, who are banging form, the most informed side in the Championship. They won 5 of the last 5 games under John Eustace, who was in contention to get the Millwall job. Weren't he, Ben, when Joe Edwards got that gig? What do you make of Blackburn, and how you see that game going on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, mate, they're absolutely flying. They won their last 6, I think. Just on Eustace in general, fucking hell of Birmingham thinking now. Just nuts what they've done to him. But yeah, look, they're absolutely flying. I see it being another tight game. Looking at their results, just got them up now. So they've won 2-0 against Luton last time out. They had 10 men. But prior to that, the last 4 results have all been 1-0 wins. So I don't think it's going to be a thriller on Saturday.
No.
I would probably take a draw now just to get a little bit of momentum back. I know it's not as good as winning, obviously. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd take a point now.
Yeah. How about yourself, Jesper? What's your thoughts on the big game on Saturday? Obviously, we don't know what to expect, do we, from Livermore's team? Is it going to be a bit of Harris, similar to Harris tactics, or are we going to see a different performance? And how you see that game panning out?
I think it's a big game in many ways, considering we just lost 3 under bounce. We haven't scored for 3 games. I think it's important we come out of the traps and try and get 3 points. It's going to be tough. I still think we'll see a Harris sort of team out there with Livermore in charge. But, as inconsistent as the championship can be, they've won 5 or 6 in the spin. We lost 3, so we could go and win this one. That's the beauty of the championship. And as Ben said, they won some tight games, which we also did. We also won 4 in the spin. So I think big game in terms of turning results around and getting a positive vibe again. And I think we could go on to win this one.
Guys, in the chat, interested to get your thoughts on Saturday's game. How do you think we're gonna do? Are we going to get a reaction from the players in a good way, a bad way? What's Livermore going to pick tactic wise? How are we going to get up against the most informed team in the championship? So put your predictions in there, your score predictions, and we'll get to that in a second. What would you go for as a score prediction, Jesper, for Saturday? What's your thoughts on how the game's going to end?
I'll take a 1-0.
1-0 win? Yeah?
Yeah.
Who score it? That's going to be the hardest question.
Oh, yeah. It'll probably be a set piece.
Own goal.
Yeah. 2-1 at the bookies. No. Let's go Tanganga.
Tanganga. Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Ben? What's your score prediction for...
I said I'd take a draw, but come on, let's be a bit positive. I'm going to say 2-1 win to Millwall.
Right. Love that. Gaz Lyon just mentioned there, lads. Got 12-1 on Bradley 5 minutes ago, but now it's 3-1.
Cash out, Gaz. Cash out.
I tell you what, it'd be interesting if that's announced before we end this live. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? Daniel's going for draw versus Blackburn 1-1. Gary C is going 1-2 us. To mean 2-1 to us. Rob T says that Muscat with Andy Roberts as assistant. Remember the rumours? I did.
Yeah, actually, Joe, that would actually be my favourite. But I think it was mentioned somewhere also in the group that he's out of our price range. But he's done an incredible job in Asia as well. And he really, his teams are scoring bundles of goals.
Sorry, just reading Daniel's comment there. Sorry, Jesper.
Yeah, I know. I saw it now.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so let's go through the score. So 1-1, we struggle for goals, but solid as per usual. Set piece, Tanganga. Going back to what you guys said. If we get new gaffer before the game, then manager bounce, win, otherwise loss. Daytona's going for 2-0 Tanganga and Aziz. Charles going, we'll have to see a win, but most likely a 0-0 or 1-1. Just hope Livermore plays 4-4-2. Not interested in being number 2. Okay, there we go. So Irish phone story 2-1 us. There you go, guys. Thank you very much for being with us. We're going to end the live soon because we're approaching 2 hours. Would you believe it? 2 hours we've been on here, guys. If you haven't done it already, I'm going to say it again. Please subscribe and like this show. Everything we make on this show. All the profit we make goes to Cancer Research UK. So sorry if I keep repeating myself to the guys that have heard this hundreds of times. But if you're new to this, please like the show and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Guys, just want to thank you guys, Jesper and Ben. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate you giving up your time to be on here and sharing your words of wisdom and your thoughts and your knowledge on Millwall. Anything you want to end off, Jesper, before we close off?
Well, if I'm not on before Christmas, I want to say a Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Hope we get a win on Saturday, and hope everyone has a good festive period. And I hope that we have a new manager or head coach announced very soon.
That would be nice. That would be very, very nice. Cheers for that, Jesper. Thank you very much. And Ben, how do you want to end? Anything you want to say before we end the live?
No, really enjoyable show. Look, just an interesting time for the club at the minute, isn't it? All different opinions, rumours, chat flying about everything. It seems. It's just a bit of an exciting time. Intrigued to see who we get as next manager, but I'm sure we'll continue this on every single show we do until we get someone announced. So, really enjoyable being back on. So, cheers for hosting, Joe.
Brilliant. Good to have you back on, Ben. Hopefully, we'll have you on more often. I know obviously you've got work commitments and family commitments as well, like yourself, Jesper, and quite a lot of us on here. But whenever you can get on there, please do, guys. Love having you both on the lives. I'm sure the listeners will agree as well. So, guys, thank you very much for being with us. I'll be honest with you, we're not probably going to do next Tuesday at 8 p.m. because that is Christmas Eve. And I think I'll be going down Divorce Street with my missus if I told her I was going to do a live on Christmas Eve. But we are going to be doing so on the 23rd, which I think is the Monday, isn't it, from memory? Yeah. I think Chaps was quite keen to get a show out. I don't know if that's going to be a recorded show or a live show. So if you're not on the socials, get on the social, start following us, the Chat with Chaps on YouTube as well. If you hit the subscribe button and click on the bell for alert notifications as well, you'll get alerted the next time we're doing a live. It'll give you a bit of a warning as well. So we will try and do something on the 23rd. It'd be interesting to see Christmas quiz. Not bad shout there, Alex. I'll put that to the guys and see what they say. That'd be quite interesting. But that's it, guys. Have a fantastic end of this week. If you're going Saturday, enjoy the game. And we will speak to you very, 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 very soon. So that's all from us. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye for now.